What do we not want? We don't want to be represented as the Latino European invaders who colonized our continent and destroyed our civilizations. That is not who we are. We are not foreigners on this continent. We are Nicantlaca, the indigenous people of this continent. We, the full blood and mixed blood, are one people who were and are terrorized, raped, enslaved, and were exterminated by over 95% of our population over the last 500 years. We do not want a museum that tells us that they're going to tell the history of our people, but that tells us our history that it begins in 1492 with the European invasions. We are not the invaders, the ones who destroyed our cities and our civilizations and enslaved our people. We do not want to be represented as Europeans or as Latinos. That would be a lie. That would be a horrible act for us. It would be for us to participate in our own genocide. It is a fraud to label our people as Latinos and Hispanics. Our Nicantlaca indigenous populations are between 80 and 90% of the mislabeled populations of Hispanic and Latinos. We have woken from the lies and crimes of the last 500 years. We will no longer accept the evils of this genocide against our people. Our history does not begin in 1492. Our history goes through at least 6,000 years of civilizations on this continent. Civilizations that are older than anything in Europe. And we have been here at least 50,000 years inhabiting this, all of our continent. This museum is a fraud and a genocidal crime and should not exist. The museum denies the Holocaust of our people and it should not be built. This museum is part of a planned and coordinated attack against our Nicantlaca indigenous history, identity, and our heritage as indigenous people. This is a blatant act of genocide. What do we want? We do want a museum that represents our people as Nicantlaca, as indigenous, as the majority indigenous population of Mexicans, Native Americans of the Southwest, the Native Americans of the Southeast, Northeast, and Northwest, and the Native Americans of this whole continent. We want our people represented in a Nicantlaca indigenous museum that includes our collective civilization, our accomplishments, examples of our cities, and the unity of our people as one nation across our continent. We want the world to know that most of our pre-1492 population was living in large cities, large towns, that our tribal population was a minority, to end the misconception of us as a totally tribal people. We were no more tribal than the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Romans. We want the world to know that our civilizations made contributions to the world, that we're not just in foods and cuisine, but in astronomy, mathematics, medicine, writing, calendar making, city building, pharmacology, engineering, and so much more. We also want the whole world to know of the genocidal crimes of the Spaniards, the English, the French, the Portuguese, the true Latinos, and the other Europeans who came to kill our people and to steal our lands and the wealth of our resources. We want the world to know that Europeans exterminated 95% of our people throughout our continent. They killed 70 to 100 million of our people with the intentional use of smallpox as a weapon of mass destruction and mass extermination. We want the world to know that Europeans enslaved, culturally castrated, and raped the remnants of the 5% of our population, forcing their names, their languages, their religions, and raped DNA into our people. We didn't ask for any of that. We want the world to know that the descendants of those Europeans still control our lands, our continent, and their colonial sediments of Europeans who rape the wealth of our lands, poison our continent, poison our people with their culture of greed, lies, destroy us with an ongoing acts of genocide. We want the world to know that we reject the Latino label and the genocidal intent of this museum.
So I thank everyone for coming out. I want to wrap up their comments by saying that they, the organization, the Mexica movement, has based their remarks on the commission report that was presented to Congress in 2011. There's so much that we can do to address every element, every culture, every history of our entire community. We will disagree, and we invite people to disagree with us publicly. I'm sure some of you are wondering why we invited them to make remarks so harshly against the American Latino Museum campaign, but it's a part of an ongoing conversation to ensure that no one's story is left out of the American Latino Museum. Thank you again for coming.
Well, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I appreciate y'all listening. Again, that was pretty powerful, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and, put it on this particular series of the Chicano podcast. But yeah, we'll catch you on the rebound. Peace.